This is LessonPix, and this is the new dashboard that we released yesterday, Monday? I don't know, just a few days ago. And it organizes things a little bit differently than they did a couple weeks ago. But what we added here, if you're a teacher who is teaching UFly, you're a K-12, K-2 teacher, you are implementing UFly. The very first thing that we did, and this is when Karen said he had done enough that we knew it was going to work. Let's start with that. If you go here under Sound Finder, there's now a section here called Phonics Finder. It lets you choose the phonics system that you're using. UFly Foundations is the only one live. You'll see there's a Readtopia coming soon.
And those of you who are users of Readtopia Go and Readtopia, the sequence will be the combination of learning letters plus learning words. And so that will turn into a sequence that all of the things that we're going to show you that work with UFly now will eventually work with Readtopia's sequence.
This is this page is a very simple one. If you choose the lesson that you're on, if you're on lesson 43, you're working on the all and all endings, it will show you all the words that you can use to teach this lesson. And these aren't the ones in the UFly list. These are the English words that follow the pattern that is specified in this rule and only uses the lessons prior to number 43. So you're not going to find any long A's in here, and you're not going to find any R-colored vowels in here, and you're not going to find the endings like meant and things like that. It's going to show you the words that you can use to teach lesson 43. So you've got your 3 irregular words that are introduced to this number. Everything else here should be all, or ull with things that you can use before, that you've been taught before. Okay. So this is what when I showed this, it was enough to say, oh, look what else we could do. But this works great. And if you're a LessonPix user, you'd understand. You'd clear your tray. You would add some words like, oh, I don't know, we'll do doll and call and gull and roll. And you might choose other words too, because you don't want to be boring. But if you want the words they can read all of these words. You get small and troll. If you open these up, you'll get, other versions of the troll. Maybe you want this kind of troll. All of these are found by looking through our phonetic dictionary and saying, okay, what are the ones that match these particular rules? So if you hit create materials, you'll make materials like normal. You might want to make a set of bingo cards. And while I'm here, I'll show a feature that we have already announced, but I'm going to show it again. Here's our words. I could sort them or do whatever else I wanted. Translating them will be completely pointless. I'll make 3x3 bingo cards for 10 kids. But one of the options we just added because of Karen and because of what she's told us is you can now say, just use the text. Don't even use the picture. Put the word in the bingo card. Hit the finish. It'll generate the bingo game that has the word in the center. Download your PDF and you're going to be good. It'll look like.
And then you can take the same activity and you can print it with just the pictures.
Right.
And while the kids are playing bingo, they've got the picture cards in front of them and the teacher calls the word and the kid needs to match the picture to the word as they're filling up. So instead of just a stamper that they're stamping on top of something that really is just a direct match to what the teacher says, instead, now the kid is actually having to read because the adult's just saying the word, or the adult could show just the picture, and then the child would have to think the word and find the text.
We went through every English word and we sorted it into where you'd introduce it in UFly by teaching, by following all the patterns in the phonetic dictionary, and we just mapped them all out. What that means is we can go through and we can type in any English word. And like you type in, I don't know, cute, and you look up the word, it'll tell you. It'll be introduced at lesson 58. UE spells long U or U. Here are the other lessons that are needed. You have to teach T says T, C says K, and U blank E spells long U. And it also tells you what the phonetic spelling is in our dictionary. But this was a piece of debugging that when I showed it to Karen and Lori and Beth, all of them said, you're going to leave that in, right? You're going to leave that in. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Because, I mean, you type in something like like I did chandelier. You type in chandelier and say, where are we going to introduce chandelier? Well, we're going to introduce chandelier at lesson 118. And here's all the stuff you need to learn before you can learn chandelier. And it's kind of great to be able to see the fact that it really is that systematic. You're going to follow this thing, and when you get to 118, you'll know how to read this, right? Probably the first thing that's interesting is that we started browsing and looking in our clip art library. When you go to a category in LessonPix, it would look something like this. I'll zoom back out for a second. So I'm looking at bugs, or I'm looking at birds, or I'm looking at whatever it is. It shows you all of the pictures that go with this concept, right? And these have been sorted into birds and bugs and things like that. But you're not going to be able to read the word albatross. It's a 3-syllable word. There's all kinds of things you don't know how to know if you're at lesson 47, right, or 52. You might not even be able to do bird because of the R-colored vowel, right? So if you're in here and you know what lesson you're at, like I'm only on lesson 31, this will go through this same set here, and it will show you the words that your kids know how to decode that have to do with these pictures and are readable at lesson 31. Okay. And it is important that everybody understands how this one works, because once you understand this one, everything else in the LessonPix literacy toolbox makes sense. So if I want to work on on birds, they can say eggs. So I'll clear my tray over here, and rather than say albatross or eagle, which has a long E, or African jacana, right? I'll choose eggs. I'll choose chicks. I'll throw them over here in the tray. I'll use hen instead of chicken because they don't know 2-syllable words yet, right? And when you drag this picture over, it will use the word that they know how to decode. It won't use the other words. Like if you look big, right? It's a big chicken, a big hen, a big fat hen. I don't know what it is. This one's sitting on her eggs. You have other things that you can talk about that are words that they do care about, like, or that they do know how to read, like nests. Here's a nest you can talk about. The kids know how to decode these words. You're also going to want to use other pictures. You're not limited to these, right? You're going to want birds because you're talking about birds, right? But you want to make sure you include the words that they know how to decode. Okay. Right?
Yeah, and you can think about in classrooms where teachers are trying to think about creating stations or homework or independent work. This is a way to be able to do that that's related to whatever your theme is,
Right.
and that is aligned with the particular lesson that's being taught.
Right.
And so you increase the likelihood that students will be able to do some of the homework or the center work or their independent work independently, because you're giving them materials that are using words that they are going more likely to be successful navigating.
Right. Right.
The other thing I want to point out that might not be obvious to people who are looking on a small screen is the circles that are next to every word. Those circles have a number in them, and that tells you what lesson is aligned with that word. So a lower number increases the likelihood that the kid's going to be super successful with that word. A number that's super close to the lesson that you're working on right now might be more challenging because the kid hasn't had as much practice with the particular skill.
Yeah. And you can change how this is sorted. So if you want to work on the things they just learned, sort it by the latest. It'll show the things closest to where they are in the sequence. And it's color coded red to green. So the red ones are going to be harder to decode. And in theory, the green ones they've had more practice with, even if whether they're successful or not. The earliest ones will be the ones that are that were taught first. And A to Z just alphabetizes them so you can find things. The last one is relevance, and that's going to be more important. It is that how many pictures we have. In categories, it's less important, but you'll see why it's really important in articles and thematic units in a minute. Okay. Once you open one of these, like drop, all the different drops that are in this category are in here, and this explain is here, and that will pop up the same explanation box that we saw before that explains where that word is introduced in UFly.
So when you show, this is a perfect one, like you showed the word drop, That's all the ones that are in this
In
category.
folder. So if that word drop is the way the drop is in there is not as relevant for your learners, or like the word big, like it's a big hen, but maybe that's not the way. It helped me. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go search in the library for the word.
For the word.
I know.
Right. If you want all the words that are drop, like drop might show somebody dropping a basket, but this is food coloring because it's in the cooking category, right?
Yeah.
And so a drop of food coloring is here. The drop of book isn't relevant to the cooking category. So we try really hard to show the ones that are relevant to the category you're working on. All right, so let's talk about the other places we can do this. So this is browsing the clip art library and being able to do that. The other place that we do this, and this is really what Karen and I are talking about at ASHA, is everything in the Sound Finder now will add decodable words. So if you're doing final K words and you do, I don't know, chalk, a word that is not decodable at all, but I want the k sound at the end of the word, and I don't want any blends, it'll find all the words that have a final K sound without any blends, right? And it will highlight the ones that they know how to read or know how to decode, in theory, at lesson 31. They've been taught to decode by lesson 31. Is that a better way to say that, Karen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so again, you can go in here and you can change what lesson you're on. Like, okay, now we're at lesson 42. You'll see that it's going to have more words, and they're still indexed by whatever you sort here. So they'll say most recent ones. You just taught them yak at lesson 30, which is probably the Y one, right? So if you go further up, you can say things like, at 67 or 8, I think you've got all the syllables, multisyllabic words. So you get a lot more words that are final K isolated, still following the same pattern that the Sound Finder does, but highlighting the ones that they know in theory how to read at this point. Okay? So it should be easy if you're making articulation cards to focus on the ones they know how to read, right? You can still do syllable sorting. You can still do pattern filtering. It all applies to both of these, and it works. This works on all of them. I won't go through everything, but real quickly, if you do, I don't know, TR at the beginning of the word, it'll find all the TR words, and then it'll filter the ones that they know how to read by lesson 68. Okay, so that they have been taught how to read. How to decode, that they've been taught how to decode by lesson 68. Is that the right way to say that?
Yes, it's
okay,
perfect.
I'll convert that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what this does. It's all the way down. Pattern finder rhyming with, if you want things that rhyme with, I don't know, cat, whatever. It will go through, it'll find all the basic rhymes just like it always did. It will also then show you the ones that they can decode. Okay. Karen always loved this one. This is like, I think, your favorite demo. Like if I search for, I don't know, boats, it'll do a keyword search for boats, and then it'll find all the words that they can read. And if you're only at 50, you can't say boat. You don't know how to say boat, or you don't know how, you haven't been taught to read boat yet, but you can do tug and ships and black and cross and all these things that are related to boats, but are decodable at this point. Okay, so that's built in here to our keyword search as well. And you'll notice that this is just embedded everywhere in LessonPix, right? So you'll see this little icon, this little toolbox. It's everywhere. If you're in the sharing center and you go look at a material and it's yummy and yucky, right? The words they can read at 50 are going to be called out. And these are the symbols in there that have words and keywords that they can read, that they've been taught to read at lesson 50. They've been taught to decode. Sorry, Karen. So this is here under materials. And then the last place we've added it, and there's this almost works at this point. It kind of works great, and then it's missing a step. We also added it to all of the articles, including all of the INA stories. And this is what Karen really wants. And she's going to be very excited because she hasn't seen it yet, I don't think. Maybe an hour or two ago. But if you go to anything that Lori's worked on in a story, and those of you who don't know about in a story, this is a key thing I should just bring up. If you've never been there before, when you're logged into your account, go up here to where it says in a story, and our Lori has gone through and done all the books that you already use, whether it's early childhood or middle school. There's all different levels now, and she has made all of the material, a ton of materials for each of them. So if you're doing Duck for Turkey Day, right? Lori has made, and ignore this thing into the right for a section, but she's made the vocabulary cards, comprehension questions, writing pages, things about traditions and art and social skills, Thanksgiving activities. If you do I Love You, Blue Kangaroo, same thing. She has gone through and made all these materials that you'll use while you're using this book to teach. So they're already there. This has already been part of this. It is part of our literacy initiative. And it probably does deserve a little toolbox on it, Lori, somewhere. But what we've also added is the fact that we now have all of the words that go with this story over here on the right, mapped out to where you are in your phonics instruction. And this really is where that relevant is much more important. So if you sort by relevance, these are the words that love is one of the most common words in here and all these materials that she's made. And these are the symbols that she used for it. Hug and croc and dogs. Kangaroo is not going to be there at lesson 62. It won't be there until lesson 100. But these are now in here as well. The reason I said there's one step missing, there's no tray on this page. And we need a way to display the tray when you actually want to do something with these words on the right. But that will be there before we make an official launch on this in the near future. But the way that this works is it goes through all the materials that are in here, and it looks at all the symbols that she chose, looks at all of their keywords, and it finds all the words in all of those keywords, in all of those pictures, in all of those materials, and it sorts them out by UFly number or by sequence and puts them here at the top. So when you're making things to support a story that you already know about, and yes, I agree, Nielsen, that in the story is amazing. It doesn't just look amazing. It is amazing. It's an enormous amount of work, and this integrates with it very well.
I do love that the In a Story has these now, because we read for so many reasons. We read for enjoyment. We read for vocabulary or background knowledge. Like we read a lot of books in the classroom. And if I could have the decodable words that align with the content of a story, it's
Right.
like another way to engage. And I love the fact that in my workstations, one workstation might focus on just the vocabulary, but another one can align with both the content and the skills that the students have in decoding. So I think this is truly magical, and I can't wait to make more materials that line up with different lessons within the UFly, and hopefully soon with the Retopia version as well.